how do I make this short and sweet? Okay, so let's start with Happy New Year. And I really wish you everything that you are wishing for yourself. So some changes will happen on my basically channel. So make sure that you're subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, then you see this like thing in the right kind of like corner, bottom corner, just click on it, because you'll be getting some series and some invitations that other people won't have an access to. They're not going to be posted like publicly. And you know, also, if you haven't already, join me on my mailing list. The link to it is my description, because that is specifically important for those of you who really want to take advantage of private readings, or who even want to take advantage of Reiki and all of these other add-ons that I actually send to my subscribers. And before we move right into the action, let me just ask you to support the channel. They're like already made, they're already out. There is $29.95, I believe, for one sign, and $59.95 for all. So you just have to go with www.cattarot.ca/annual, and basically the rest of it is history. It's going to be the order, and you get it from me as soon as I see it in my mailbox. I send that reading to you. So that really supports the channel, and this particular year I'm going to be helping lots of animals who actually cannot fend for themselves. I'm talking about all the strays all over the world that, you know, really need that really loving touch, and I really hope you can help me in actually pushing that forward. You know, maybe it is just a drop in the ocean who really cares about a kitten, who knows where it is, somewhere in Turkey, somewhere in Siberia. But you know, it matters to that pretty kitty that actually the life, the leg, whatever is needed, an eye is being saved. So without much further ado, let's jump into the reading and see what January brings for us, because this year brings lots of changes, and hence if you order your Taroscope, you're going to know all about it. So let's start, my dear friends, and see where January takes us. Hi Aquarians, and welcome to January of 2019. My apologies for a late reading, but you know, stars had to line up for me as well. So it is really strange, because I tried to start that reading for a few days right now. I just was like really curious, what is that overall feeling for Aquarian, and each and every time I got this world card. As you are noticing in this particular deck, which is one of the oldest 15th century decks, Visconti, it is a little bit different. We don't have that necessarily naked woman dancing in the middle and this kind of like infinity, but nonetheless, over here the world card points to the basically presiding wisdom which upholds the life and all basically worlds. So as I said, that female figure that kind of like becomes the standard, she originates in Hebrew, or she's also representing Gnostic, alchemical kind of like principles, but she is in that deck kind of like standing between heaven and earth, sort of like some kind of like cosmic mothers of sorts, like a kind of the wife of God, right? And in this particular thing, we more or less see this kind of like know yourself kind of a thing. And when the world card shows up, it really talks about, hey, you know, you're going places, you're moving ahead, and be serene in knowing that you're succeeding in your goal, right? This also tells me that it's just a course of action that is going to harmonize what you want and what is currently possible. You know, like we want what we want, and then we give up when kind of like things really get hard, and we all have been there, right? So I really feel that entire motivation, and this is my karma card, so to have karma card because it kind of like deals in the present, which was kind of like really interesting because I got these two cards as well. Both Gaia and Island are cards really talking about nurturing energy. And sometimes this nurturing, especially to us Aquarians, which most people cannot comprehend, is like that we really need that time out. Time out. Just leave us alone. I need to recharge my hard drive. Like we literally explain to people, I'm like a phone. Like my batteries are out right now. You're going to get nothing from me. So just let me charge my batteries. So these charge batteries are usually done through observing something beautiful, or removing ourselves from hustle and bustle that usually it's almost like, connected to our veins. So this is more like, hey, let's figure out what is it that we really, really need, right? It is about really getting this powerful message that maybe is going to come to us in a form from the inside. Right? Sometimes, like when the stars align, things kind of like do happen. So here is like that. If you wish, look at all the stars that are actually being showered over here in Wisconsin forest. It's kind of dreaming of what kind of world do I really want to have? Who belongs in this world? And then we are getting the, I'm calling this chicken legs. I'm kind of like notorious that I'm disrespectful of the other kind of like people's names. And I always kind of like try to figure out what makes sense to me. But kidding aside, this rune is called Algiz, and it's the rune of self-interest. So it is about some self-regard from what I see. These three are very much linking, and it is based on something that we have learned. You see, in tarot we have major and we have minor arcana. Major arcana consist of 21 cards, and they're like more thematic, they are more karmatic, they're like sort of like, no, you cannot skip this lesson, you gotta learn this, right? And this one is the end of that cycle. It is upright, so the cycle is ending, we are moving to the next cycle. Now you really have to ask yourself, do you really want to repeat anything? Or you want to start fresh, or you want some kind of combination. So it's kind of like looking for that definition, right? So Algiz can really talk about really pushing in a direction which is really, really important. So I feel that nurturing could be more dynamic, where solitude is like more passive, but it's going to be either or both, that we might actually decide to either maybe take some kind of like hobby or expand our horizons to kind of like see new ideas. And I really feel that it's going to be a lot about, hey, what are you eating? What are you putting in your mouth? What are you surrounded with? Do you have lots of static noise, all these electronic devices? We are going to get really environmentally oriented. A very strange time, especially if you're North America in January. That's kind of like tough to do that. But nonetheless, it's a start. As Aquarians, we really don't wait for the right timing. We are doing when the beat starts to kind of like drum inside of us, right? And the others are maybe going to start mindfulness course, meditations, kind of like in the Zen. And I really think when I was writing my own things, if you haven't listened to how to transfer from 2018 to 2019, please listen to it. It's going to be at the end of this video. So to me, this is more like this meditation, my Zen, kind of like have that rhythm. It's very important. Another aspect that I'm noticing here is willpower. It looks like if the new task, being Aquarian, new task is never simple. It's never like, hey, wash the dishes. Pfft, we don't even consider it a task. This is like, okay, this goes without saying. So this is going to be something difficult. We are an air sign. Air sign always have this like big concepts, big ideas. Where are we going? In which kind of direction? So this really says that if you want to push it through, that you will succeed. And you will succeed by actually applying few things at the same time. So again, some internal work has to be done. And this could be just like from a prep talk to, hey, to, okay, I'm really choosing what I'm putting in my body. My body is my temple, and being really serious about it. Kind of like, ooh, pizza, I don't think so. Or, this also applies to toxic people. It is something, as I said, think about where you have been last year or two. In fact, I really think you need to think all the way back to 1990 to 1992, because this also astronomically makes sense with everything that will be happening. There's going to be a huge shift. It's going to be a huge element of learning and huge element of progress. So let's break this down more into a little kind of like chunks. So let's start with kind of like this general reading, sort of like freestyle, and see where this basically takes us. And here we are. Here we are again. The world card is actually showing up here as well. And as you can see, the theme here, the world is my oyster. It is like, this is mine. I have accomplished this. There is like this, sprinkle over here. There is like the sun shining on me. It is like basically that contentment of relationship. I don't have to do anything. I just like really feel this is what it is. Just as here it was going toward something, here it is. I am already there. Look at that magnificent, basically, window. Obviously, this is kind of calling it, making it, and watching these little bridges and the little churches and the kind of like little things, almost like the curvation of the planet. It's really, really important over here. But then, aside from this karma, we have one more thing, consequences, which is really interesting and almost like contradictory that we are getting these two cards together. And you see, the consequences are really talking about dealing with people and kind of like cutting off the cords. You can see how when we get tangled up, so there is like really time to kind of like really decide that, hey, wait a minute, I have to stop right here, right there. Maybe there is like no point of trying to untangle. It will be more difficult than just cutting it through or discarding it. When this reverses, it can actually talk about a new cycle, that is going to be clearance cycle. It could be a new cycle where, I really feel some of you will be actually leaving relationship. And some of you will say, well, look, it doesn't fit me anymore. But others of you will think, well, I do want to move forward with so-and-so, but maybe I really don't want to marry, because this can actually indicate marriage at times. So these two cards are sort of like relatives. They have the same vibration of that too. It really tells me that it's lots of passive energy. So we are going back to, what do I really want? If you find yourself in any kind of like affairs that seem to be like hard to resolve, even though you want it badly to go to the next kind of like level with someone or by yourself, it's kind of going to be really difficult, because now I like this Earth Tom and Sea Kitten showing up over here. Earth Tom is kind of caring energy, and I really think for Aquarius, this is one of the nicest cards to get, because look, what do we see here? And this is Father. It's kind of taking that to the next level, taking it, look, I'm not leaving you behind. You're going with me. There is like this water and ditch, and I'll not allow anything to happen to you. To me, this card really talks about friendship. This card really talks about that excitement about moving forward. And there is like another level of playfulness. Sky Kitten can talk about, following your own ideas. It almost looks like we are saying, okay, if we are going in the next cycle, it's almost like the New Year resolution, right? So kind of, hey, this is what I did so far. I was spinning my wheels. I was getting nowhere. So what the heck? I know how that story ends. Let me try something else. And it's asking lots of questions. I always see this card as organic learning, meaning, you don't just open the book and just wait for that to kind of like be absorbed in your head. It's more like, okay, well, yeah, this makes sense. Now I see. It's almost like when you're an apprentice to some kind of like trade. They can tell you all they want how tiles are being kind of like put down. You can watch 1,000,001 YouTube videos about it. But the moment when you are really doing it is when you're going to encounter 1,000,001 things. And that's basically really a good time to ask questions, because those experiences get absorbed. So given that these are positive, it's also interesting that you might have females that are sort of bringing some negativity and clinginess. So you might have somebody who is earth sign, who's going to be really difficult in this time period. As I said, it's going to be something about putting ourselves first. It is very important, because I really feel this card also resonates with us very much. High Priestess is all about, look, all these crystals are giving you this energy and giving you this connection with the universe, what you really want, what you really need. And asking questions and actually really watching. Sometimes people just ask questions to keep the conversation going. Well, good luck with an air sign with this. We are asking questions because we want to know this person's soul. And if anybody didn't learn yet that Aquarians are just like an X-ray machine, we kind of like check you out and see if you can move forward, then you're out for a big surprise. Because even though we look very bubbly, maybe even childish, that's simply because we generally don't fit in. We generally don't even know who we are until we learn that fitting in is really not where we need to be. It's not what we have to tend to do. Because really, if our nature is inquisitive, the moment when you're inquisitive, you're actually not fitting in, because eventually you're going to rub somebody the wrong way and you're going to be told to get along. You just like want to kind of like make the waves. Well, watch me kind of a thing, right? That's kind of like really Aquarian thing. But guess what? We are doing neither in January. We are saying, wait a minute. It was kind of like hard, even though we feel that sense of accomplishment. We still feel to get to the next level. Oh my freaking God, each and every time. It's like so much effort. It must be a better way. And we are thinking, well, you know what? And one thing is for sure, not only am I upset when things happen, or I feel I'm getting a short end of the stick, and I kind of have to climb up and charge these batteries a few times because I'm kind of like feeling worn out, so hence this nurturing that needs to happen. But also, like, how is this really working for me? Where is my soft place to fall? And where is my tribe? So it's going to be lots of questions about that. Let me clarify a few cards here, given that we have 3 major arcana over here, so being very, very important. I want to see the World card here because of the repetition, Aquarius. Honestly, being one of the best cards in the deck. If you're planning something new, such as a new business or new venture or trip, that's going to be very successful. Even if the ship sinks off your cruise, it's still going to be something that you're going to that's going to put a smile on your face. The World card, it kind of like really brings that. So look at that. Here it looks to me there is despair, pleasure seekers, and friend. Yay, friend. I guess our ears perk up when we hear the word friend, because it's almost like a medicine for us. And surround yourself with something white, guys. And that's why I usually read in white, because I consider you my friends. We might not know each other face to face. You might not know the color of my eyes, and I might not know yours. But one thing is for sure, that I feel your soul and you feel mine. And that's what friendship is all to us. So despair and pleasure seekers tells me that some of us have been maybe dealing with people who were interfering with our happiness, who maybe kind of like brought arguments to the next level. Like, this guy here is almost suicidal, and I really hope that none of you have felt this way, because he was looking for something, some support, some soft place to fall. And some really hopes we see here a picture with a lady on it, and it looks like it was the vase that is really broken. So in the other decks of Vera Sibilla, this is called jealousy, right? But it is that despair born out of jealousy, born out of some third-party situation. Somebody was having so much fun, and that they didn't even care how we feel. And generally, because we are such big survivors, we would never just say, some people, I don't know, especially if you talk about water signs, they realize like when they need to recharge. But we are kind of like, we would step on our feet and keep going, because that self-sufficiency and what we need to do and what we need to have is like sort of built in. And other people kind of like find it really weird, and that's mostly where we are being relegated to the friend zone. Maybe somebody thought because we are so friendly that we are going to be there all along. So these consequences, or the justice card, could also be referring to somebody from the past, or some past actions that maybe we didn't really behave ourselves very well, very well. And that wouldn't surprise me, because if you piss off Aquarius and takes a while, and then, oh my God, this is not a little kind of like wind, that's a tornado, that's tsunami that you're dealing with. And so they probably heard our 2 cents, but we are getting to this point that we couldn't care less anymore. It's just kind of like, poof, I'm closing this door. And I think to us, the loss of maybe some friendship, maybe we're dealing that friendship betrayed us, a friend let us down, or that we have been with somebody who meant so much to us, and he or she was also a friend, which then made this entire situation as a huge letdown. And I can certainly see connection over here. Let me grab one more card for the consequences, because this was technically for the world. And it's literally kind of like redefining, okay, who I want to stay in this world with, who I don't want to. If I'm, having X amount of resources, how would I deal with this? And then consequences, look here, as I said, wife and a child. I'm wondering if there was a situation where, if you're involved with someone who had a family, and this family didn't have to function. It could be like sometimes, hello Matrix, you are starting to show up instead of Safi. Say hi. You're still not talking as much as she does, but you're starting to, huh? Do you love tarot reading? Huh? It could be that, it was like somebody who maybe started the process of separating from their partner and dealing with things, but it's usually, and I would say, especially when it comes to men, you are skating with my cards, then, they kind of like feel, well, it's easy, not a big deal, and I'm not one of them who is going to kind of like stop midway. But that's exactly what happened. Somebody stopped here midway, and maybe this kind of like really meant also a wife. Somebody got in the way, children got in the way, which, rightfully so. Maybe that's what we are understanding. Maybe we are paying the consequences for, let's say, our foolish actions, even though at the time they didn't look foolish. At the time, maybe they have been rightful, and that we were doing what kind of like seemed to be fine. We kind of like look for our little kind of like happiness corner. But I'm really seeing that some situation that has been happening here is still kind of like sending ripples of resonance. And maybe this is kind of like really talking about being like a friend to ourselves, kind of like doing the stuff. And you really need to be petted all the time. Why not? So let me check this High Priestess and see what's basically additional thing. High Priestess, and we're getting misfortune reversed. Well, that's powerful, because the World card is clearly saying we are resolving that issue and we are moving forward. But High Priestess is now looking back and saying, have you ever been in that situation in your life when you go, holy smoke, I dodged that bullet, right? That's exactly what she's realizing. She's realizing some disaster that would have happened if things kind of like played out differently. This is a very negative card. It's not like Tower, even though it looks similar in tarot. It's, yes, people are jumping off the building, but in this card, people are also burning in the building. So it could be, one of those things. I'm so glad. While we are going through a situation and it feels like we're being harmed, we are kind of like not getting what we want, but then we have this way of looking at it from a different perspective. Then we are realizing, wait a minute, I have been really protected over here in this situation. So let me check this Earth Queen over here. Look at that, prison reversed. Absolutely, it was our happiness depended on somebody else's action. It was not it was like somebody who was involved or somehow engaged, or somebody else was pulling the string, such as an ex person. we actually might hear from this person, and I don't think we would love to hear from this person, because it looks like the order of the day for January is going to be I'm at peace. It's going to be very much Zen, very much understanding ourselves that we need to change certain ways and change it for the much better. So being friend to other people comes really easy to us, but being friend to ourselves is really not that easy, and that's what we will kind of dedicate ourselves this particular month. So lastly, what I'm going to do, I develop a spread where we can actually look for both couples and singles, kind of like circumstances that actually can happen, would happen. So I kind of like don't see much point of doing, well, just singles and this, because ultimately it's one sign and it should be the same. How can be singles having a great time and couples not? So hence I develop a spread that works for everybody. So whether or not you want to be single or you want to be with someone, it's going to give you the parallel. Hey, if I'm single, this is what's happening. Well, if I'm just like questioning about what this Aquarian is doing, you can actually check that as well. How is he or she feeling? And also, what will be happening if I were in a relationship right now? So it kind of gives all these attitudes. So let's do this. Aquarius for 2019. Aquarius for 2019. So Aquarius for January of 2019. Actually, I have to do that again because it didn't say January. Aquarius for January. Let me just zoom this out because this one is a little bit bigger spread. And it's a new one. I really was toying with something and I'm realizing now what I needed to add, and I think this really works. Okay. I think it was reversed. Okay. Aquarius, January 2019. So zoom out a little bit more. So basically what I am looking here for is, first of all, let's check the singles. Let's see this entire representation. Interestingly enough, both, and like you have to figure out which one you are. This is a general reading. I really cannot tell from the general. When it comes to particular, even then sometimes you can see the confusion, especially when people are the same sign or have similar planets. But here you have to see that you're maybe dealing with somebody, and almost looks to me you're dealing with other partners. You're dealing with issues that were murky. The moon can talk about jealousy, could talk about not really knowing your place in a relationship, hoping for you, but look, they're barking at the moon where the path is going completely this way, and something third usually comes and kind of grabs it. So it could have been that we were kind of like really focused on the wrong thing, and now we are seeing that, and now we are realizing that in the future we really have to be aware of that. But at the same time, we are perceiving this person as somebody who maybe enslaved us into kind of doing things that maybe otherwise we wouldn't do. The devil talks about not being able to let go, not being willing, because the will is really weak, even though this is a huge willpower card over here, rune over here. Devil reverse really talks about, understanding, well, I really don't depend on this person, and even though there is a loss, I now know why this just couldn't work out. And even if the territory was all clear, it wouldn't be able to work out. So if you're asking about this person, for example, this is you, and yet they're seeing you as you just have been jealous, you didn't want to deal with the situation, and how can you not understand? Because both cards are tapping in the dark, so blind leading blind sort of situation that it was. So they're kind of like seeing you as somebody who was jealous, somebody who, you know, almost like they really wanted to take control. And good luck with Aquarius about that, because I don't know about you, but hey, really, really good luck. And look at that. We have the Wheel of Fortune, very similar to the World card that we see here. It's another circular. It's another karma card. So here we have like these. This is us, Aquarians. We have Scorpio, we have Taurus, we have a Leo. We have like these 4 signs that are almost like holding this whole thing together. These are signs that are creating structure. So singles are really building themselves. By the way, this card belongs to the planet Jupiter. And Jupiter is always about this luck. And it's not a big surprise that I'm actually reading this on January 5th, because that's exactly where things are starting to shift. And they're going to shift in a big, big way. So almost like, guys, you can make 3 wishes, not 1, but 3, and they will happen. And they will happen not in a small way, but in a really, really big way. So let's clarify this. We have this King of Swords reversed and Page of Pentacles reversed. Now we did have this Page of Pentacles in the major reading, but it was upright. A King of Swords reversed, it really talks about harshness. And it talks about kind of like details in this Page of Pentacles. Something that didn't work out, which we really wanted to work out, is actually benefiting us now. So e.g., maybe you want to be with somebody and you want to marry somebody, instead you stay single and maybe even devastated. But right now, because you're single, you're able to meet somebody and you are actually able to differentiate who is better for you. So let's see, you know, the partner. We are seeing here 6 of Swords. 6 and 6. The ultimate bridge over troubled waters. Turbulent waters, calm waters. The idea is like to get there. But look at these swords in this boat. Is this the way to carry them? Really? So this is really talking about hope. And it's still talking about lots of issues. But she is still understanding that if she moves, that the issues are not going to go away, but just maybe the new surrounding might bring some kind of like peace. This is kind of going back. I really think there's like somebody who is mulling it over, lots of things going through their head in how to deal with circumstances that actually brought 2 of you to meet. And that's if you're thinking about somebody you're not with and you're currently single. So let me see the clarification over here. It sounds to me that this person over here really didn't know if they want to keep going or keep leaving. Do you want to move forward? Do you want to go backward? It's kind of building something, then breaking something, building something, breaking something. It could have been somebody who is really controlling. It could have been somebody who, you know, it's my way kind of a thing. But they would say it's our way. And that maybe work for an ordinary person, but when it comes to Aquarians with such strong will, they don't understand, because they treat us like a child. They treat us basically as if somehow we can be maneuvered. And then that's basically a situation where they encounter a huge kind of like barrier to that. And that kind of like was maybe the clash that we realized over here. And it's actually really now coming to us who I dodged this bullet. So let's see the people in relationships. And there we go, especially the married people. You guys, there are things that you're doing in your relationship that are not really in your best interest. Whatever this is, you're doing something, but guess what? You're actually happy. You are going to spend a month enjoying kind of like who you are, how you are doing, bounty, like good food. Again, I'm seeing this. This is not junk food. This is like the bounty food, the good thing. Maybe even overindulging over here. The focus is going to be on what makes me happy, what kind of like rainbow I want. If I have to paint a picture of me and it's only this small, what would I fit on it? How and which people would stay? It's kind of like one of those essential things, because the tarot card really talks about redefining certain things. Tower can be something surprising. When it's reversed, it really doesn't create a turbulence. It doesn't create a surprise. It's just like giving you this gnawing kind of like feeling that something is wrong and you cannot really put your finger on it, right? And then we end up keep doing things over and over again, kind of a thing, right? So the last 3 cards, I'm kind of like looking here for the universal meaning at this particular point. Haha, interesting. When I have 2 of Swords, is oh my god, oh my goodness. So yeah, if you are asking about somebody, and I really think this is more or less being sent as a message to people wondering about someone, because I see here couples, honestly, I really wouldn't touch you, but keep this in mind, that there are certain things that you're still closing eyes to that can actually cost you time, patience, feeling backstabbed, and feeling rejected. Aquarian, the entire thing about Aquarian is about rebellion and rejection. I think the story of Aquarians, and honestly, I am really barely remembering my Greek mythology, and I think it was a young boy named Ganymede, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So we are talking about Zeus and all these gods, right? So, okay, so just bear with me, because this is what they did in Olympus, which was basically their clouds where they were like living. Zeus was the god, and they would kind of like get themselves like a toy boy. And I know it sounds toy boy and somebody who was between 12 and 19, so it's wrong on kind of like child abuse, stuff like that. But anyway, that's what kind of like it was. But keep in mind also that people were back then living, I don't know, like 25 years. So not that this kind of like really kind of like excuses anything. So what these gods would do, they would kind of like bring themselves somebody, and then this person was basically their servant. So Zeus saw this like, gorgeous little boy, and I don't know, he was like, I think 15 at the time. So Zeus turned himself into an eagle and zoomed in and kind of like picked him up to kind of like be his servant. And he said, you're going to serve me. It kind of like turns out almost like to be an honor, because, right, he was serving Zeus himself. So he was supposed to be carrier of cups, and he can bring him water, wine, whatever he needs it when he wants it. And like his father of the boy, I think, got quite a few horses, and he was apparently very pleased with that. In any case, all these little boys that have been brought to those heavens to kind of like work in that kind of, enslavement, were feeling special, we're feeling chosen, we're feeling, almost like celebrities like today, but not our boy. So I think at one point, like, he kind of like just lost it, and he took all his cups, broke everything, and flooded the earth. And everything was like just actually deteriorating. That's about that rebelliousness. This is like about that storm. This is about, somebody not seeing, look, you might mistreat me, you might do stuff like to me, but I'm not going to sit. I'm not kind of like one of those scorpionic types. I'm going to mull over, serve your revenge cold. No, I'm going to serve your revenge very, very hot, and I'm fine with that. But the story ends well, because Zeus realized, and this is like one of those good gods, oh my goodness, I didn't really do well. This was not supposed to be done this way. And he kind of like didn't kind of destroy him, because initially wanted to destroy him. So he is always kind of like seen, shown like with this kind of like flooding kind of like water, which kind of shows, I am not allowing you to be better than me. You are not guiding me. So this guy stood up to the biggest god there is. So that's who Aquarians are. So it sometimes costs us, right, guys? We probably all have that rebellious streak in us, that Uranus, that it just explodes. But also Saturn is now changing positions, and Saturn also helps us, luckily. Otherwise, we would just be a little kind of like explosive walking around. And so here it tells me, look, something already exploded in our face. Something already made us deal with things. Something already made us exchange harsh words. And I really think that's exactly what we are actually changing. And I really think that is lingering thing, because look at this, 10 and 3 is 13 and 2 15, and this is really pointing out to this card 15, which is the card of a partner. And it was something karmically, cosmically, that we really needed to learn, not about them. They were just almost like a lesson. We had to learn about us, what is important to us. And it looks like we chose well. We chose what we need. In relationship, Aquarians are getting this. There's like still certain turbulence, but the turbulence is minimized, where separately I think Aquarians are looking for, hey, you know what, I need to live this life by being kind of like authentic and dedicated to myself, because only then I can give more, right? And we are going from this 9 to 10. There is like some kind of like motion going forward. As far as the partner, it sounds like they're still dealing with the same issues. They kind of do want to come back on their terms, how they wanted, and keep in mind, this is again how that would end up if you want to repeat this whole thingy. So I really hope you guys like that. I really hope this kind of like new system works. And I'm also inviting you to support the channel with those annual taroscopes. They're actually really interesting. You have the first part where I'm talking about quarterly kind of like reviews, so you kind of like see which quarter to expect something, so you can gauge yourself. They're more specific than astrology, right? But then I'm merging them with astrology in the second part, so you see all these houses, how basically we would figure out things or not figure out things, what can be a challenge, what not. And then this is all placed in Lenormand. And to top it all, I'm also talking about this universal year vibration, year number 3, which is ahead of us, which is very creative, which is very opening, and it's going to be something that is going to really help, especially Aquarians, open their eyes and kind of like finally push this proper combination of the buttons to move forward, because it looks like it has been something that has been dark, but this was like something we needed to learn. And one of the major lessons was to learn ourselves, to have willpower. And I think we did something that even surprised ourselves, and we have to pat ourselves on the shoulder and say, good Aquarius, without flooding the entire Olympus and entire Earth. We can do that without it. Even though the price was really, really high to pay, we said, okay, you know what, at least, you know, I'm going to make sure it's worth it, kind of a thing. So my dear Aquarians, I wish you all the best. And if you want a private reading with me, cattarot.ca. I also encourage you to go on the mailing list in the description down there. And I don't know if you're seeing this little icon of mine to subscribe, because some series will be only available to the subscribers. I'm simply turning this channel into healing and nurturing and guiding and coaching, and let's kind of like be friends this way. So kind of like join there, so that way you can get notification about that as well. So until the next time, you guys can find me on Facebook and Instagram for your daily dose of tarot. And until the next time, you know that I love you. All the best, my friends, and Happy New Year.